Coopers Falls is a hamlet in central Ontario, on the Black River near the village of Washigo in Rama Township. It is named after Thomas Cooper, the first settler in this location. Although there are few families living in Coopers Falls, it is considered a ghost town because its current population is significantly less than it once was. In 1864, Thomas James Cooper and his wife Emma and 3 young children immigrated to Canada on the steamship Hector from Fockham, England. They arrived in the area from the train in Barrie, and from there they proceeded to make their way by boat to Washigo, a town adjacent to Coopers Falls, where they set off into the bush to build a location to build their home. Emma and Thomas Cooper built a house and general store half a mile from a waterway on the Black River. Many years later, in 1878, the first post office opened with the name Coopers Falls. The village soon added a general store, blacksmith, and cheese factory. A log schoolhouse was built in 1874, followed by 2 churches. The Methodist Church was built in 1894, and the Algonquin Church was built approximately 1884. Thomas Cooper had hoped that his town's inhabitants would live good and clean lives. He believed in prohibition and thus was not pleased when men from the lumber camps would show up in the town drunk. The town's dismissal came when the lumber mill closed. The actual waterfall which took the Cooper name, sits on private property, but can be seen from Coopers Falls Road, especially in winter and early spring when foliage doesn't obstruct the view. Lewisham was another small settlement that began in the late 1870s with the government's attempts to colonize portions of Ontario's land. This was done with promises of rich and fertile soil for which farming would be ideal. With high hopes, settlers arrived to the area only to find that the land was rocky or contained swamps. In addition, the black flies and mosquitoes were terrible. The first survey was done in 1861, and a timber license was given to the Cook brothers. It would be a decade before its first settlers arrived, for a select portion of the area was suitable for living and farming. It was at this location in the deep forest of Rye Township that Mr. John Taylor, an early settler to the area, would establish the area's first store and post office in 1882 at the Four Corners. By this time, the area became known as Lewisham, named after Taylor's English hometown. Taylor would remain operator of the store and post office until 1888, when W.J. Tryon took over duties, followed by William Lowe and John Fox. The 2-story building was the most impressive building in the area. It stood across the school and church and had 8 rooms upstairs and 5 downstairs. A stagecoach ran from Lewisham to Coopers Falls twice a week. The village was at its zenith in 1890 with a population of 100 and had grown to include a sawmill, store, post office, church, school, as well as a few farms. But, as not uncommon in those days, disaster struck in the form of murder. By 1990, though, the lumber was depleted and families were tired of their farms. The population was now down to 50 people, and it was ever on the decline. The taverns were the last to operate the store and the post office, closing it in 1927. It was torn down in 1946. One could only imagine how little business was conducted in the area as compared to other more accessible settlements such as Coopers Falls to the south and Barkway to the northwest. The school managed to remain open until the 1940s. By that time, it was delivered education to a mere 9 students. As the residents vacated the settlement over the following years, the roads, especially the one to Coopers Falls, had become overgrown and forgotten, all except that to Barkway. Today, the road will take you into the back forest until you come to the old school and graveyard. The graveyard only has a few gravestones, though. Many of Lewisham's settlers are buried here. Their headstones either sunk or weathered away over time. The school is still used as a seasonal home.